Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح للأمة وجاهد في الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين عليه من ربه أفضل الصلاة والتسليم وبعد. Then the following advice is titled How the Righteous Woman Can Build a Nation, or the role of a righteous woman in building a nation. And there's a well-known statement that is attributed to some of the non-Muslims, and it is said that it was first stated by Napoleon Bonaparte. However, it is quoted by our scholars because it has a degree of truth to it that says in Arabic, وَرَاءَ كُلِّ عَظِيمٍ امْرَأَةٌ وَرَاءَ كُلِّ عَظِيمٍ امْرَأَةٌ. Behind every great man there is a woman. وَبِعِبَارَةٍ أَدَقٍ, and to be more precise, وَرَاءَ كُلِّ عَظِيمٍ امْرَأَةٌ عَظِيمَةٌ. Behind every great man there is a great woman. Behind every great man there is a great woman. And behind every person who was a significant asset for their community, providing guidance and providing defense and protection and providing wealth and sustenance and meeting the needs of their families and meeting the needs of their communities, that oftentimes, and perhaps more often than not, there is a strong and great woman who is obscure and unknown, that is the source of their strength, who raised them to greatness, who raised them to have high ambitions and lofty morality, and to have a good understanding, who schooled them and who reviewed what they had memorized of religious knowledge and secular knowledge, and who was instrumental for their success. And so there's a tremendous lesson in this proverb, in this statement, behind every great man there is a woman. And this underscores the critical role of the woman in nurturing greatness within the nation. And this statement holds true about the mother's support and nurturing of her child, and the wife supporting and nurturing her husband, and every other supportive relationship. And there are a number of examples in the history of Islam that highlight this for us. Tayyib, my apologies, somehow we got disconnected. I'm not sure exactly where we got disconnected. We were giving examples of righteous women in the history of Islam as mothers and wives and daughters and sisters in building strong men and playing an important role in the prosperity of the ummah and the spreading of knowledge and so on and so forth. And we mentioned the example of the mother of Rabi'a al-Ra'i and Malik ibn Anas and Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhim and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and others. And from the notable figures was the female scholar of hadith Unais bint Abdul Karim al-Lakhmiyah, who was born in the year 780 after the hijrah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was the wife of the great Imam Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, rahmatullahi alayhima. And she acquired knowledge under the care of her husband from the great scholars of Misr, of Egypt in his time, and Asham, the Levant, the scholars of Mecca, the scholars of Yemen, and Imam As-Sakhawi rahimahullah ta'ala, and he read the 40 hadith from 40 scholars in her presence along with her husband. And she was a great support and knowledge. And he had a sister likewise. Ibn Hajar had a sister who was 3 years older than him, whose name was Sitta al-Rakib, and who was a great prolific reciter of Quran, memorizer of Quran, who people used to learn, the woman used to learn the Quran from. And she was a scribe, a writer, of the knowledge of the scholars and the copying of manuscripts and so on and so forth. And Ibn Hajar rahmatullahi alayhi said about her that I benefited from her manners despite her young age, meaning despite her being young in age, even though she was older than him. And he learned a great deal from her maturity, and he benefited a great deal from her company. Likewise, we have the example of the wife of Al-Kasani, whose name was the great Hanafi scholar who wrote a famous manual in Hanafi fiqh that is called Bada'i al-Sana'i in al-Fiqh al-Hanafi, and her name was Fatima bint Alauddin Samarqandi. And she was so proficient in the Hanafi school of thought that she earned the trust of her father, who was from the Fuqaha of Samarkand and the people of her town when it came to fatwa. And she used to issue fatwas alongside her father. And no fatwa ever left, no written fatwa ever left her father's house without her signature being written alongside his. And her husband, Al-Kasani, rahmatullahi alayhi, he used to consult with her on issuing fatwa, and he used to act according to her understanding and her viewpoints, sometimes changing his view and his fatwa to match her viewpoint. To the extent that Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, the great Khalifa and ruler of the Muslims, who recaptured dozens of towns from the Crusaders, may Allah have mercy upon him and reward him tremendously, this great warrior and hero of Islam, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, would consult with her on some matters of state and governance and ask her about certain matters of fiqh and jurisprudence. And so there are so many examples in the history of Islam of the wives and the mothers of the khulafa and of the ulama and of the rulers and of the scholars. And in order for our women to fulfill their potential, there are two things that are vital for them. The first is for them to know their purpose in life, which is to know Allah and to worship Allah, tabarak wa ta'ala, and that Allah created us to try and to test us. And so when we work together to learn our religion and to worship Allah tabarak wa ta'ala and to overcome the tests and the challenges of life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has foreordained to occur in our lives, then by doing that we will reach our full potential as spouses and as parents and as friends and as members of our communities. Secondly, it is for the person who wants to achieve greatness and to have an impact upon others to learn the methods that are necessary to achieve greatness in every role that they have as a parent, as a spouse, as a sibling, as a friend, as a member of the ummah at large, or a member of their local community, according to the principles of Islam. And so she needs to learn, and every person needs to learn, how to play a role in education according to what they know, and supporting according to the strengths and the skills and the talents that they have. And the woman, she can use her knowledge and her character and her influence and her place in the heart of her husband and her children to help them to achieve greatness. And in doing that, she will achieve greatness through her actions and greatness and her guidance to be a role model for those who are around her. And this involves more than anything else acquiring knowledge from authentic sources and applying it to her daily life. And so the Muslim woman should embrace her role as a wife, as a mother, as an educator, potentially as a scholar, as a highly learned person, as a person who is strong-minded, who has healthy opinions and healthy ideas that will be of an asset for herself and for others. And her influence extends beyond just the mere support role of the home and nurturing Annie by cooking and preparing meals and so on and so forth, and fulfilling the most basic rights of her family, by being the makers of the men of the ummah and the builders of families and the upholders of communities and the establishers of righteousness. And by recognizing and fulfilling these roles with dedication and knowledge, then she will be ensured to achieve the betterment of herself and her community. And so these stories that we have heard, and there are so many that are like them, they highlight the significant role of the woman throughout the history of Islam in enduring hardships and overcoming adversity and obstacles to provide the best environment for those under their care from their children, and educating their children and contributing to their success. And this is contrasted with the attitudes and the ideas and ideals of many women today who want to pursue careers outside of the home and remove themselves from the home in a way that is detrimental to the home. And these examples, they demonstrate the timeless value of the role of the mother in raising great individuals. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala improve our condition and guide our women and our daughters. Indeed, He is Sami'un, Qareebun, Mujib, wa sallallahu wa sallim, wa barik ala nabiyyina Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathira.